And now, ladies and gentlemen, we will proceed with the first item of our agenda, which will be a video keynote speech. And this time, we're joined by Assistant Commissioner Dan Solis, who is in charge of the U.S. FDA imports. And today, he will be delivering his presentation under the topic of FDA Artificial Intelligence Imported Seafood Pilot Program. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him onto the screen.
다양한 분야에서 AI, 인공지능을 활용해 의약품과 식품의 안정성을 관리하고 있는 미국 식품의약국 FDA. 지난 2019년부터 음식품의 이미지 분석과 유해 성분, 오염물질을 탐지하는 데 활용되어 온 FDA의 AI 기술은 대량의 수입수산물 데이터를 분석하고 자동으로 위험한 제품을 찾아내는 파일럿 프로그램으로 지난 수년간 진화하고 있습니다. 기술의 혁신은 업무의 효율을 높이는 것은 물론 인류가 좀 더 안전한 삶을 살아가는 데 필요한 장치로 활용됩니다. 세계 각국에서 들어오는 해산물의 안정성을 확보하기 위해 AI와 머신러닝 시스템을 도입한 파일럿 프로그램은 신선도가 중요한 해산물 선적의 통관을 신속하게 처리하면서도 위험을 식별하는 도구로 사용되며 실제 그 효과를 입증하고 있습니다.
Some of this innovation is already creating a revolution in food production, supply, and delivery. These developments offer great opportunity, but also pose many challenges. Another example of the new kinds of tools we're developing for prevention can be seen in a pilot program we're conducting that will leverage artificial intelligence, otherwise known as AI, and machine learning to strengthen the agency's review of imported foods at the port of entry and to help ensure that they meet U.S. food safety standards. A proof of concept application of AI and machine learning models to historical shipment data indicates that we can expect very promising results from this pilot. Imagine having a tool that expedites the clearance of legitimate, compliant shipments and improves by 300% our ability to know which shipping container to examine, because that container is more likely to have violated products.
또 수입되는 식품과 판매 회사에 대한 방대한 양의 데이터는 머신러닝을 통해 위험도가 높은 시설이나 식품을 선별하는 근거가 됩니다. 변화하는 시대 속 기술을 통해 인류의 안전한 삶을 지키려는 목표를 구현하고 있는 미국 FDA의 수입수산물 AI 파일럿 프로그램을 소개해줄 댄 솔리스 부국장의 메시지가 지금 시작됩니다.
Hi, my name is Dan Solis, and I'm the FDA Assistant Commissioner for Import Operations. My apologies for not being available to come in person to your event, but I am happy to be able to record this presentation on the FDA's Artificial Intelligence Imported Seafood Pilot Program. I would like to thank FOODPOLIS for the invitation and all of the importers and members of Smart Food Enterprise for attending today's presentation. I have to share with you on a personal note, I am very familiar with the Korean culture and love the Korean people, especially a big fan of K-pop. My daughter educated me into who is BTS and Blackpink and Lalisa. So if I could show you the types of dancing that my daughter taught me, I would, but don't have enough time here. But also a big fan of some of the weekly TV shows from Korea. I know one is Summer Strike and the other one is My Mister. A big fan of those from the weekly series that I'm watching. So very familiar with the Korean culture, and I wish I could be there in person. Today we will talk about the FDA Artificial Intelligence Imported Seafood Pilot Program. What is it? Phase 3 and also next steps. We will also communicate to you who you should be contacting depending on your port of entry, or also provide you with additional resources to help you navigate a very complex trade roadmap into importing FDA goods into the U.S. On slide 3, in 2019, the FDA launched Artificial Intelligence Imported Seafood Pilot Program. which uses AI and machine learning to strengthen import screening and to ensure that foods entering the U.S. are safe. The pilot focuses on imported seafood because more than 90% of the U.S. seafood supply comes from other countries. And in the past, FDA has seen food safety concerns for various imported seafood products along different points in the supply chain. This pilot taps into the initiatives from our New Era of Smarter Food Safety Blueprint, a program that seeks to reduce the number of foodborne illnesses by leveraging technology to create a safer, more digital, traceable food system. Machine learning is a type of AI that can help identify connections and patterns that people or the FDA screening systems cannot see. These patterns are applied to incoming supply chains to help predict the likelihood that an import shipment is potentially harmful and not compliant with FDA regulations. The ability of machine learning to analyze data already generated and used by the agency makes it well suited for addressing complex public health challenges and helping the agency to ensure the safety of imported foods. So the next slide, to date, there have been 3 phases of FDA's imported seafood pilot program. The first phase of the pilot was an analytical proof of concept. The analysis demonstrated potential for a machine learning driven approach to expedite the review of lower risk seafood shipments, while identifying those of higher risk for violations or refusals. The second phase, conducted out in the field, was designated to integrate machine learning into our existing import data systems like Predict to inform decisions about sampling by interviewers while gaining more experience with training of the machine learning model. The operational pilot was launched at all U.S. ports of entry from February 2021 through July 2021 and proved very successful. The real-time model was able to analyze an import entry and return a sample recommendation within seconds. This has not been done before. In the third phase, begun on August 15, 2022, will help to determine the feasibility of deploying an in-house AI machine learning model using the intelligence that FDA extracts from the data we collect, reviewing millions of import entries per year. For example, there have been enhancements made that determine how machine learning algorithms can best complement field operations and improve the agency's ability to identify products posing a threat quickly and efficiently. We also are looking at our seafood project portfolio to expand the use of machine learning to better protect consumers. Machine learning gives the agency the ability to analyze data from various sources to help inform FDA decisions and target our resources at the borders. In a related shrimp pilot, we have begun to focus on areas of increased risk, such as shrimp contaminated by agricultural drugs for foreign inspections from the top 3 countries importing shrimp into the U.S. This includes increased importer inspections, higher rates of sampling and examination, and use of non-traditional tools, such as third-party audits specific to this commodity. We incorporated the data from this project into the third phase of AI imported seafood pilot program, allowing for a more robust and larger targeted sampling. The third phase is designed to improve the agency's ability to quickly identify imported seafood products that may be contaminated by illness-causing pathogens, decomposition, the presence of unapproved antibiotic residues, or other hazards. The knowledge gained from the pilot will enable FDA to expand the use of machine learning in the screening of other FDA-regulated products and will inform future risk-based surveillance in products that present the greatest risk to consumers. The ultimate goal is to better protect consumers from unsafe food by advancing the FDA's ability to identify potential hazards. FDA's imports consist of 5 field divisions, covering over 350 plus ports of entry and 8 international mail facilities. Additionally, there is also the Division of Food Defense Targeting and Division of Import Operations at FDA headquarters. If your product is held longer than anticipated, you should always reach out to the division associated with the ports of entry first. Multiple holds at different ports of entry for extended periods of time can be reported to the OIO AI inquiry email, in addition to general questions on the OIO AI imported seafood pilot program. Next slide, please. And this is just the structure of our Office of Import Operations senior leadership, from the field divisions to the two divisions at headquarters that I mentioned earlier, and my two deputies, John Verbaden and Fayed Rahman. And as mentioned, these are resources available online at FDA's AI Imported Seafood Pilot Program. The CSMS message that we transmitted, the new era of smarter food safety that I mentioned, FDA's Technology and Modernization Action Plan, Import Screening Pilot unleashes the power of data and leverages artificial intelligence, FDA's strategy for the safety of imported food, seafood. Additionally, other resources available online is the Imports Program, contacts, the FDA ACE ITDS website, product code builder, and DUNS number lookup. In addition, we also give you points of contact with contact information as well as phone numbers for areas of focus. If it's happening at multiple ports of entry, then I would contact Division of Import Operations, and there is an email mailbox for inquiries regarding non-specific ports of entry. If there is a specific ports of entry, for example, you're importing into the Port of Los Angeles, for example, there is an FDA office in the Port of Long Beach, and typically when a detention occurs, you will get an FDA notice of action, or what we call an FDA NOA. You can receive that electronically or from your customs broker. And what that does is it describes why the FDA is holding it. If the answers to your question are still not being addressed by the compliance officer, which is your first person you should talk to regarding the detention, then you could escalate it up to the chain of command, to the compliance officer supervisor, to the director of compliance branch, to the program division director, and so on. But if it's a general multiple ports, then I would say reach out to the email that's on the resource page of our presentation, and also reach out to the Division of Import Operations. First, what I typically advise, especially brand new importers into the US, is hire a competent customs broker or filer that knows your commodity. For example, there are specific customs brokers that know seafood versus cosmetic versus medical device. Do some homework on the websites of different customs brokers who knows your commodity of interest, because they would know the requirements to file a customs. And then once you have a very competent customs broker, then what I would do is do some homework about FDA requirements. FDA is very good on our FDA.gov website to provide all the information you might need to submit information to Customs and Border Protection, the required elements that we're requesting. For example, there might be affirmation of compliance codes that's required for your medical products. And you won't know that unless you do some homework on the FDA website about what those requirements are. And again, the customs broker or filer would know that information because they take tests in order to qualify to submit to Customs and Border Protection. And one of the test questions is on FDA requirements, as well as other federal agency requirements. So it's not just FDA requirements that they should know. There's also other requirements like USDA and Fish and Wildlife. And the customs broker or filer would know what those requirements are. Very similar to what I mentioned earlier is hiring a competent customs broker or filer that knows seafood, for example. But also on our FDA website, we do present seafood shipment requirements, what is needed. For example, if you're importing shrimp, there are some requirements for you to test the products. And what we would do is, if it's detained here in the US, we would detain that shipment, and it would require the importer here in the US to hire a private lab to make sure that the products are safe for entry to the US, especially if you're a first-time importer. We can't say this enough, that if you're a first-time importer, it's best for you to get help with your very first shipment. Because with FDA's Predict system, what we do is those with with good history in importing the FDA goods into the United States have the highest rate of MAPRCs than those that are brand new. So if you have a detained or held shipment, I would first check the FDA Notice of Action, or NOA. In the FDA Notice of Action, you will get a contact information about which compliance officer did the detention of your shipment. I would contact them first to find out what is the reason for the detention if it's not already self-explanatory in the FDA notice. The FDA notice will highlight the section within the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act that has the authority to detain the shipment and will often give you advice into what the next steps are. If it can't be answered, then feel free to contact via phone or email the compliance officer. If the shipment is occurring in multiple ports, as I said earlier, I think that's where you need to elevate it up to a headquarter division, such as Division of Import Operations. In the resources that I provide in this presentation, we provide for you the FDA Imports Inquiry email mailbox at the very end, which is a good place to submit these questions to, especially if it's regarding multiple ports of entry. I think there's multiple forums available, especially if we want to share specifically artificial intelligence and machine learning. I know the federal agencies collectively have gotten together with the different departments, like Department of Homeland Security has held artificial intelligence forums. Our Office of Information Management Technology, or OIMT, has put together what they call an artificial intelligence playbook. It's published online on our FDA website, and it talks about where we would prioritize or different scenarios that FDA would use AI and what type of AI we would use in different scenarios. If there is a request by either a government or private industry to share, then I would invite the different offices within FDA that has AI as part of its responsibility for a summit or a conference where we would talk about and share, for example, information such as the one I'm presenting. There's been multiple of these already occurring. Just to let you know, we have been sharing with other countries as well as them sharing with us. So I think it's a great time for the world to actually understand a little bit about the parameters of artificial intelligence, but also to understand some of the fears behind artificial intelligence. We know that there's fear that this is going to take over the world and we're going to have, robots running everything in the future, which is, incorrect in terms of the ability for us to use artificial intelligence. Behind every AI model that we have, what we provide is human intelligence in order to run it. So I think you have to appreciate human intelligence as well as artificial intelligence and combine the two so that, some of these fears can be eliminated with regards to its application for other uses in the future, which we know there are multiple uses of AI being conducted today in today's technology. Thank you, everyone, again, for inviting me to come today. Thank you, FOODPOLIS, for inviting me. It was my pleasure to provide this information and the latest information here from FDA. And we learned a lot during the pandemic, and I wish that I could travel there in person to present this one day in your beautiful country. But this is the next best thing. And I think from the pandemic, we're slowly getting back into traveling again. And some of the great lessons learned from the pandemic means that we could do things a little bit faster, things remotely through video conferences like this. That's one of the things that we've been able to evolve. So happy to use Zoom as another way for us to communicate with all of you. So thank you again for inviting FDA, and hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Please give a big round of applause. Thank you very much to Dan Solis for that meaningful keynote speech. His presentation reminded us once again of the various technologies being utilized to enhance the safety of imported seafood and how AI is rapidly becoming integrated into our daily lives. Once again, thank you very much for that keynote speech.